Hi there, dear crafters! Welcome to our new tutorial. In this week's video, we will show you yet another way to combine the front post stitch and the crocodile stitch in order to make a lovely fancy hat. This hat is done in two parts. The first part will show you how to make the headband using the front post stitch, and the second part will show you how to make the crocodile stitch part around the headband. I'm using a single color for the entire hat. However, you can use one color to make the headband and another color to make the crocodile stitch part around the headband. Please make sure you have enough yarn to finish this type of hat. Two skeins of yarn of about 200 meters each should suffice. I'm using this type of yarn which is between light and worsted, and it is not too very elastic. Please be advised that this tutorial will not show you how to make the front post stitch in detail. If you want to learn how to make the front post stitch in detail, you can follow the link to our previous tutorial in the description box below the video. Now let me show you what I did off camera, because it takes me far too long to make the foundation chain and the first row of double crochet stitches. This will not be shown on camera. However, I chained 21 chains for the foundation chain, and then skipped 2 chains at the beginning, and then continued to make double crochet stitches up until the end of the row. This gave me 20 double crochet stitches on the first row, including the chain 2, which I skipped at the beginning of the row. I used this stitch marker to mark the chain 2 space at the beginning, which will come in handy when making the second row. Another tip is as follows. I made this first row using a smaller crochet hook. For the rest of the headband, I'm going to use a 5mm crochet hook, but for this very first row I used a 4.5mm crochet hook to avoid getting this first row to be large and wide. I'm not sure why, but this is a strange thing that happens to my work because I can't see. Now let's continue making the second row using the front post stitch. Now that your first row is also completed, let's continue making the second row. Chain 2. This will count as a stitch here and throughout the entire work. And then turn to the other side. Now skip this last double crochet stitch from the previous row and continue making front post stitches from the second double crochet stitch from the previous row. By the way, this headband is of 13 centimeters wide. I chose to make a wider headband in order to change the usual pattern of this type of hat. And I will explain what I mean a little later on. Now let me show you how to make these front post stitches across the second row. Only a few more front post stitches to up until the end of the row. At the end of the row, I made a few adjustments to this stitch to adapt it to my disability. All right, now I'm making this last front post stitch around the last double crochet stitch from the previous row, and this is where that stitch marker comes in handy. Otherwise it will take me minutes and minutes to make this last front post stitch. Anyway, now please notice that most patterns will teach you to make half double crochet stitch in top of this chain 2 from the previous row. However, this is something I can't do. I just can't do this half double crochet stitch in that chain 2, top chain 2. So what I'm making is a normal double crochet stitch between the last double crochet stitch from the previous row and this chain 2 space, but I'm making it slightly tighter in order to be just like a half double crochet stitch. Trust my word, this won't change the pattern too much. I mean the side of the pattern too much. It will be as even as if you were to make a half a double crochet stitch as you should normally do. This is the second row of front post stitches. So let's continue making a third one, after which you need to make as many as possible to complete the headband. I placed my stitch marker at the beginning of that second row to mark the chain 2 done at the beginning of the second row. But now let's continue making the third row. Chain 2 once again, and turn onto the other side. Please notice this raised this raised stitch on the surface of the item I'm making. Now skip the last double crochet stitch from the previous row, that first double crochet stitch, and continue making front post stitches from the second double crochet stitch from the previous row. Here's another tip which is very important. Because of the crocodile stitch done around the headband, this pattern requires that you make multiple of 4 rows. From my previous experience, that means you need to make about 52 rows of front post stitches. That will give you normal adult size hat. Oh, and let me not forget to say something about the headband being wider. It was something I wanted to tell you previously. Some people will show you how to make this type of hat using less wider headband and larger crocodile stitch part, giving that slouchy, design for this type of hat. This is not the case for what I'm going to show you. The crocodile stitch part won't fall down onto the shoulders and won't become, slouchy and stuff like that. But if you want to use these instructions in order to get a slouchy beanie, we will also share a few photos of that pattern. However, this won't show you that pattern. I hope you know what I mean. I'm at the end of the 3rd row, and once more I'll make a front post stitch around that double crochet stitch from the previous row. And now I'm going to make a normal double crochet stitch, but slightly tighter, between this last double crochet stitch and the chain 2, instead of the half double crochet stitch. Slightly tighter. This is how the headband should look like for you as well. Now please continue making more rows following the same instructions. So repeat this last row many more times up until you'll have the complete headband. Don't forget, you should have a multiple of 4 rows for this headband. And we will meet once again when the headband is completed. Dear crafters, if your headband is also completed, now let me take you to the next step, which is joining the beginning side to the ending side. Before this, make sure that your headband goes well around your head. Just like that. I know the requirement of a multiple of 4 rows is somehow annoying, because your headband can turn either too small or even too large. By the way, my headband is of 42 centimeters length without any stretching, and is 13 centimeters wide. Um, um, Also, the size of this headband can depend on the type of yarn you are using and on the crochet hook size. Moreover, it can also depend on the tension of your work. What I mean to say is this. If mom and I were to follow the same instructions to make a headband, mom's work will always turn a lot larger because her tension while working is a little looser, while mine is extremely extremely tight. But hopefully you got the right number of rows, because it does this pattern does require a multiple of 4 rows. I have 52 here. So now let me show you how to join the beginning side to the ending side. There are a few ways to join the beginning side to the ending side of a headband. This can be done using the single crochet stitch or the slip stitch or even a needle. I'm going to use the single crochet stitch. Besides, I'm going to use the same crochet hook, the 5 millimeter one, and the same thread. By the way, I placed a few stitch markers across the beginning and the ending rows to mark the number of stitches. This is helping me counting the stitches. By the way, this is my first attempt in 8 years to join the ending side to the beginning side of anything. As such, these stitch markers will guide me through this process. I'm somehow nervous. Well, at the end of that last row you made, chain 1, and now let's join together. I'm going to use my single crochet stitches between the double crochet stitches on each row, because it's impossible for me to actually insert the hook in each stitch. I'm only using my touching skills. I'm only going to show you a few single crochet stitches, and then we'll meet at the end of this row. That was the third. Now let's find the fourth space. So I'm making each single crochet stitch between the double crochet stitches from these 2 rows. please continue follow these instructions, and let's meet at the end of the row, because it will take me far too long to show the whole process on camera. Here is my attempt to join the beginning side to the ending side of the handbag completed. If you want to make a headband such as this one on itself, you can cut the yarn and fasten off, and then sew these loose ends around across the row. But because I'm going to continue making the crocodile stitch around the headband, I'm going to leave this loop as such. Besides, you surely need to choose the right side for the headband. What I mean is, if you prefer this raised row of single crochet stitches on top of the headband, then leave it as such. If otherwise, turn it on to the other side. However, I prefer this raised row.